Every man wants to build a muscular, aesthetic body that women are attracted to and makes you feel proud of yourself. But you think that it requires years and years and years of boring lifting, where you're not allowed to ever drink alcohol or eat junk food. You think that requires knowing the exact science-backed exercises, having perfect genetics, and a perfect, most optimal training plan. But let me tell you the truth, it doesn't. Building an aesthetic physique is way easier than you think, and if you stop overthinking and actually put in consistent effort, you'll be shocked at how quickly you can start looking like the man that you've always wanted to become. But what is an aesthetic physique? Because it's not all about being big and having muscle. There's many people who are on steroids and are huge, but they don't have an aesthetic physique. Instead, it's about proportion. What you really want to have is that classic V taper where you have wide shoulders, a small waist, solid arms, and visible abs. This will make your upper body look wide, and with a narrow waist, this gives the impression that your upper body is even bigger than it is. Now, the V taper is the most attractive male body type. There's this big argument online between which is the most attractive body type that women like. Is it the tall, skinny, TikTok boy look? Or is it the dad bod? Or is it the muscular aesthetic V taper? Well, just look at every model, at every movie star, at every fitness guy, and see what physique they have. It's always the lean aesthetic look where they have a prominent V taper. The thing that everybody gets wrong about building an aesthetic physique is that it's a super complicated scientific thing that relies primarily on genetics. But they're wrong. They're 100% wrong. Everyone can build an aesthetic physique as long as they train hard and have the discipline to train even when they don't want to. Now, over the past few years, science-based lifting has become insanely popular, with a focus on picking the perfect, most optimal, most perfect training splits, complicated exercises. However, it's so much easier to build an aesthetic body than you think. All these science-based lifters spend years being obsessed over finding the most optimal exercises and ways to train. However, that causes them to go into analysis paralysis, where their brain works out way harder on trying to build muscle than their body ever physically does. If you spend months scrolling through YouTube and Instagram trying to find out if push-pull legs is better than upper-lower, or if dumbbell bench press is more optimal than normal bench press, you don't care about building a muscular body, and you're just procrastinating on actually doing the work that would get you the results that you want. It's purely mental masturbation. Because your muscles don't know or care about how many studies you've read, or how optimal your split is, or if your exercises were the scientifically backed perfect exercise which engages 10% extra of the muscle than this other exercise. All your muscles care about is that you do the hard work, where you lift with intensity, where you progressively overload the weight you lift over time. Everything else is just mental gymnastics. Now, building a muscular body is so easy. Just choose a training split you like that fits your schedule, pick exercise that you like doing and you can train hard on, because you can always change them around later, and then just stick with that long enough to build a muscular body. That's it. That's the secret to building an aesthetic physique. You don't need the perfect plan with the most optimal exercises. You just need to actually lift weights frequently with intensity. The gym bro who does a basic push-pull leg split with just a few basic exercises that he likes, not the scientifically backed optimal exercises, but who trains with intensity, will build 10 times more muscle than the science-based guy who switches up his exercise and training style every time a new research paper is released or every time you watch a new video. Just think of the silver era bodybuilder Steve Reeves. He was natural and had access to a fraction of the information, knowledge, and equipment we have. Yet he has a physique better than 99.99999% of people today, percent lifters today. People would stop and stare at him when he was walking on the beach. And it's because he followed the simple advice of just training hard with intensity. Once you understand that, building aesthetic physique is easy, it's simple, And that's where we go into the actual blueprint, the formula behind building the V taper that keeps you lean and makes you look more aesthetic faster than you ever thought possible. Now, the first step to building an aesthetic physique is to just train hard and progressively overload your intensity. It doesn't matter what training split you have or what exercises you do. Just pick one and stick with it for months and train hard. Just start lifting. Even if you don't know everything, even if you're not sure which exercises are best. When I first started training, I trained every body part, both upper and lower, every day, 3 days a week. Then I switched over to push-pull legs 6 days a week. And then I switched over to Arnold split 6 days a week as I got more used to lifting and I found out what worked best for me, what I enjoyed the most. I've tried and switched through dozens of exercises for each muscle group until I found what I liked best and what worked for me best. What's important when you start training the gym is not your exercise selection or what split you do. It's that you actually train. That's the most important thing. And progressive overload just means that you keep the lift hard as you build muscle and become stronger. So you can continue to become stronger and bigger in the future. Now you can do this for increasing the weight or increasing the amount of reps you do. Don't overthink it. If you aim to hit between 8 to 12 reps, train until failure. Train until you can't do one more rep. And if after a few weeks, few months of lifting at that weight, you can hit that 12 reps easily, you know that you need to increase the weight that you're lifting. Now the second thing you must do to build an aesthetic physique is to prioritize muscles that will build the V taper. If you want to look aesthetic and as attractive as possible, focus on the muscles that build up your V taper, especially focus on your lateral deltoids, on your lats, because they give you the frame that makes you look bigger, that looks wider. Focus on growing your chest and your traps in order to fill up your t-shirts better as well. So if you want to have an aesthetic physique and be attractive to women, you don't need to be on steroids or be able to bench 180 kilos. Instead, focus most of your time and energy on the muscles that target and build that illusion of the V taper. Now, being lean is like 80% of being aesthetic. A guy with less muscle but has a defined six-pack and veins will look more muscular than a guy with an extra 20 kilos of muscle if he's not lean and he has a bit of fat around his stomach. That's the illusion of bodybuilding. When you're leaner, you'll look bigger even when you're much smaller. When you tell people that you work out, the first thing they'll ask you is if you have a six-pack. It's the most important muscles for normies who don't lift. Women especially love when you're lean and you have abs. Now, you don't need to be absolutely shredded, but by staying between 10 to 15% body fat will make you look miles ahead of the average guy, even the average guy that lifts. So building an aesthetic body is not hard. It just requires that you put in the effort. If you start today, you train consistently, and you stay lean, in 6 to 12 months, you'll barely recognize yourself in the mirror. In 2 years, people will start asking for your advice. And in 5 years, you'll build the kind of physique that most men will never, ever achieve in their lives. People may think that you're on steroids even when you're natural. So stop overthinking. Pick a program, train hard, eat right, and stay lean. You do that for enough time and your body will transform faster than you ever thought possible. Just remember that it's so simple to build an aesthetic physique. Don't allow yourself to overcomplicate in your head and that get in the way of you actually lifting the weight. Now, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video and you learned about how it's so much easier to build an aesthetic physique than you thought, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. Subscribe to Unlimited Power for more self-improvement videos. And I thank you for watching and I'll see you in the next video.